望你做这个。
好，好变化，我如果我做这边，做我肩膀，我们7也8也，
哦，因为他挡到。那你做过去是什么看不到？
过去啊。
那你这样做，你这样直接看到。
你看到吗？
你在后面啊。
你看不到我也没办法，我是不可能移动位置的，我是懒惰鬼。闲下来。所以是不是我？你好，继续在线。Hi. You still want like an 8th grade for like your station and stuff? Like, if you had a picture?
Just wondering. That's just to do with this. 应该也很有趣。确定他不是想的日常来说，学校女生遇见成情侣，这样我应该推荐成为妻。他在暗示你要跟可一起。加入很
Okay, good afternoon everyone. How are you? Good. Welcome to Multinational Business Management Week 3 lecture. Today we will continue the discussion on international business concepts. Okay. And if you can recall, in the last lecture, we finished the first 3 questions, right, regarding the definitions and types and different models of international business. And the question we are going to explore in the following is, how does international business differ from the domestic ones? And to answer the questions, let's go back to the definitions of international business in the first place and see if we can spot any answers from the definition itself. What's the major differences between international business and domestic businesses? Anyone sees the sign of the answer? Yes, across national borders, right? Basically, domestic businesses, they do trade and investment within national borders, but international businesses, obviously, they do this across national borders, right? And due to these different type of flows in knowledge, products, services, and even their investment across national borders, international businesses, they face greater risks than the domestic ones. So in other words, internationalization of the firm might be beneficial in some way. We talked about that in earlier discussion about the models of internationalization. But you have to know that when companies involved in the internationalization, they will face potential risks while they're operating around the globe. Because we know that different markets, they may have a different constitutional contextual variables such as the cultural differences, institutional economic variations across international markets, right? But what are the risks specifically that the international business will face throughout the internationalization process? So this is very famous 4C model in the arena of international business studies. So basically there are 4 types of risks of internationalization, including cross-cultural country currency and commercial risks. And you've got the definition of each of these 4 types of internationalization risks on the slides. And so I don't think I need to repeat them. I think what is more practical and important is that what are the examples involving in these 4-dimensional risks, right? So let's spend some time for the group discussion now. Okay, so please organize yourself into 4 people per group. and collect one of the group handouts from me. Okay, so here are the group handouts for your discussion today. 4 people per group, okay? If you're ready, just collect one of the handouts from me. So your task is to finish the task 1. That will be the first page in the handouts. Okay. Basically, select the corresponding numbers and plot them into the table.
And then we come up with examples for this one. So which one do you think is? What currency is it? like produce instant noodles, we have produce plastics, but I think they're I guess So I think then working conditions is like ethical trends.
Decision making style.
What do you think? What comes first? 我觉得Let's just put the exclamation mark and we'll just enter the
Oh, yeah, I'm speaking about the legal system of the country. For sure, For the asset
Cambridge study.
Why is the
How would you find
it's just like Failure of national economies. And once again, this is
I think that's a close Return to
Now it might be like when you proceed with
More like we have like planning to do
Have I finished? Task one, okay, pretty much. So let's discover the answer for each of them. Okay, start from the cross-cultural risks. Okay, you know cross-cultural risks occurs when a cultural system includes some human value at stake. And let's move on to the next slide. And this risk usually arises from the differences in terms of cultural aspects, such as languages, lifestyle, mindset, custom, religious, so on and so forth, right? And the concept is rather easy, is that you can't sell beef hamburger in an Indian McDonald's, and also you can't force your big partner to eat pork dishes due to religious issues. Well, negotiations are required in many types of business transactions. Its pattern could be different across different cultures. So, for instance, we know that Chinese and Mexicans, they tend to friendly and emphasize social relations in negotiations. But American and German, they don't really take seriously about the social norms and are usually assertive and get down to business quickly. So they are relationship versus still type of business negotiation. And another element of cross-cultural risks is decision-making style, which refers to the sense if the managers make decisions continually on the operation and future direction of the firm. And give an example about Japanese. I don't know if any of you met the Japanese friends? Any Japanese backgrounds? Yes. So I don't know, from my understanding that people usually perceive Japanese culture, especially Japanese people, they tend to take considerable time to make the important decisions. And they tend to be group-oriented. Okay? Whenever they make certain decisions, they usually take a long time to get everyone's agreements beforehand. And give you a personal example is that when I studied my master degree in the UK, and during the lectures, there was a really cute guy, Japanese, sitting next to me, and the lecture was really bored. So I asked the guy next to me, say, do you want to grab a drink after the lecture with me? Okay, and I think it's a very easy question, yes or no, right? It's kind of the potential date between us. And, okay, now you laugh, okay. And the guy didn't really answer me yes or no. He replied me like, just a minute, I need to ask my friends. Okay. And during the lecture break, he went to a group of Japanese, and I don't know, probably 10 minutes or 15 minutes later, he came back, talked to me like that. They say I can go with you. I said, seriously? It's just a date. Why you should get a consent from your friend? It's really weird. And but I just realized that maybe they have already arranged something to do us together, and if he or she wants to leave the group, they need to get extra consent from the group. Okay. So that's the example of Japanese. They take a lot of time for them to think about that, even for a very simple question. Okay. And the last example, personally, I think is the most important, is the ethical practices, which means the standards of right and wrong in a society. I think it's worth mentioning that appropriate behavior in one culture may be viewed as unethical behavior elsewhere. Okay, so taking bribery as an example, for instance, bribery is relatively acceptable in some countries such as Africa, Russia, and China, but it's generally unacceptable in most of the Western countries such as the United States and Sweden in particular. Okay, so that's the examples of cross-cultural risks. The second type of risk called cultural risks refer to the potential negative effects on company operation and profitability caused by developments in three aspects: political, legal, and economic developments in a given country. For example, governments may restrict access to markets, impose bureaucratic procedure on business transaction. Give you another example here that, for instance, for foreign investors, they want to invest in Taiwan, for instance, if they want to open a new company here or open a new subsidiaries here, maximum, well, about 2 weeks, they can get everything done. Okay. But what about the case in other countries? I think it varies. At extreme case in Brazil, it takes up to 119 days, working days, to get everything done. Okay. That's because in Brazilian countries, their governments are quite bureaucratic. You need to fill in a lot of paperwork in order to get through layers of hierarchical structure in order to get everything done. Okay. So that's bureaucratic procedure. And that basically limits the amount of income the firm can bring home from foreign operation. That also could be one of the aspects in terms of government intervention. I don't know if you heard about in early days when Taiwanese company want to invest in China, if they starting to make profits, they can't really transfer their income from China directly back to Taiwan. This is because Chinese government made very stringent regulation on that. They want to make sure every penny you earn in China can stay in China. Okay. So, but always there's always a way out, right? So there are many Taiwanese firms now. In the early days, they actually make a transfer through the third country, for instance, through Hong Kong back to Taiwan, maybe another third country, Singapore, and back to Taiwan. Okay, so that's the income repatriation laws. And also the degree of government intervention in commercial activities varies countries to country. For example, Singapore and Ireland, they are characterized by substantial economic freedom. That means that these two countries, they are fairly liberal economic environments that welcome foreign investors. Okay, for instance, by contrast, the Chinese and Russian governments, they regularly intervene in the business affairs. Okay. And country risks also include the laws and regulations that potentially hinder company operation and performance. So critical legal dimension include the property rights, intellectual property protection, product liability, and taxation policy. And another personal example here about the intellectual property rights. You know that there are many countries around the world, for instance, Russia or Chinese governments, they do have IPR laws, okay? And they actually developed these laws in line with the international laws, if you just look at the laws in themselves. But enforcement of such laws is quite limited. What does it mean? It means that if you breach the law, for instance, in China, their governments actually protect their own domestic businesses from the competition. So there was a time that, just give you a background story about that. My family business is a chemical firm in Taiwan. We are specializing in the UV coating of the smartphone service in order to get the smartphone service as hard as possible in order to start avoid any scratch on that. Okay. So there was a time that we had an R&D collaboration with the Chinese firm in Shanghai. And we signed the agreement, we signed a contract in China, and the contract says that we share the patent liability. Okay, so we actually applied the patent for our collaboration on the UV coating. And we received the result of the patent application, we found that our names actually withdrew from the certificates. It means that now the patent liability only goes for our Chinese partner, not us. And when we get back to the lab, we've been collaborating, we found that our product formula was stolen. Okay? So it was really a disaster for our business. And at the time that we decided to sue our Chinese partner, but we've been consulting about a lot of law firms across Taiwan and China. And the answer is still the same. They said that you can't win the lawsuit because you actually sign a contract in China, you need to file the lawsuit in Chinese court. So, and also, as you know, that Chinese government protect their domestic business from the foreign companies. Now we become the foreign companies in the case of like this, okay? And so, That's the story, and we gave up Suriname, so we're starting over again. But we learned something from that. So whenever you want to sign a contract with a Chinese partner, here's a way out. You don't sign a contract in China, you sign a contract in a third nationality. For instance, you sign a contract in their subsidiaries located abroad, for instance, United States. Then once any party breached the contract, you can sue them in the US court, not in Chinese court. Okay, so that's something we learned. And that's the anything I want to share with you about country risks. And also international business, they may experience potential harmful economic conditions, often due to the unfavorable legislation, economic values, and mismanagement of their own governments. And sometimes could be social and political unrest and instability in a given country. For instance, we know that Greece, one of the Western European countries, has been suffered high inflation rate and other economic turmoil since financial crisis, right? And Thailand and Egypt, they had political and economic instability due to the disputes between their governments and the ruling parties. Okay? And not to mention the war between Russia and Ukraine since February this year. Okay, if you pay attention to the news, you know that. The war between Russia and Ukraine actually posed very negative impact both on domestic and international business, in particular in global supply chain of the natural gas, and also the basic metals, including the nickels, aluminum, and palladium. It's kind of basic metal for construction. Okay? And political conflicts and economic sanctions have negatively influenced the world economy recovery during the pandemic recession. You know, we're now in the recession time, economic recession as a result of pandemic. And the war between Russia and Ukraine actually posed stronger negative effect on that. Okay, so that's country risks. The third type of internationalization risks relating to currency, also known as financial risks, which usually refer to the risks of adverse fluctuations in exchange rates. Okay, so currency risks are expected in international business context because we all know that international transactions are often conducting more than one currency, right? And for example, you know that Indian rupees have been fluctuating a lot since 1990s. Many emerging markets actually suffer such problems, and nowadays many Western countries such as UK and France, they also suffer from high inflation as a result of Russia and Ukraine war. And this results in negative effect for multinational prices, especially if you are doing asset valuation across different countries. Maybe last year you are making money, but this year you have an inflation rate counted, you're actually losing your money. Okay. And also another currency risks are concerned with the foreign taxation, and the different income, sales, and other tax worldwide will lead to different types of transfer pricing. What does it mean? It means that we talk about the Ireland government case, right? You know that in Ireland you just need to pay a very little amount of corporate tax. What about the income tax? What's the average income tax in Taiwan? Do you have any idea? It's by how much you earn, right? If you are really wealthy, you earn a lot of money, you need to pay more, but maximum 40–45%. Okay. But on average, people usually only just need to pay 12 up to 20%. And that's in Taiwan. It's quite low. And compared in the United States, of course, you need to pay more, around 26–30% on average. And in Hong Kong, I think I mentioned that last week, no matter how much you earn, if you're wealthy or if you're poor, you pay the same rate, 17%. So that's why there are many people like to work in Hong Kong, because you pay more, you pay less tax. Okay. So there are many companies that will actually take advantage of that in terms of various corporate tax across different countries. So what they can do is that they can move their headquarters from one country to another country just because the other country has a lower corporate tax, then their financial statement looks much better this year. Okay. And although high inflation is common to many countries, it usually complicates the business planning and pricing of inputs and finished goods of the firm. Because nowadays many companies, they actually take advantage of comparative advantage across different countries. So they may source certain type of raw material from one country and put them into a global supply chain throughout a several country, and by the end they produce the products in another country. So think about that. If you are doing the pricing, transfer pricing among all of this global supply chain, it's really difficult for you if this country, they all suffer from the high inflation. Okay? So that's the currency. Anything relating to inflation, currency exchanges, foreign taxation, or relating to currency risks. And final type is commercial risks. Refers to the firm's potential loss of value from poorly developed executive business strategy, tactics, or procedures. And that's the definition from textbook. I have to say that although commercial risks also exist in domestic contexts, but the consequences are usually much costly when they happen in the foreign markets. For example, in the domestic business context, if you want to terminate a contract, for instance, one company wants to terminate a contract with another company, you just need to have a 1 month notice, for instance, in Taiwan, right? But it's the other way around in other countries. Taking example of Brazil, you need to take out 3 months in advance notice in order to terminate a poorly partnership, okay? And not to mention that there are many commercial related, operational related factors that will they will lead to another risk in terms of commercial activities. For instance, as you can see from the slide, maybe you just partner with a weak partner, okay? You select the wrong partner to internationalize in certain markets. Maybe you have operational problems, and maybe you calculated the wrong timing of entry into a certain market. You know that the first mover and second mover, or the late mover, they actually have different advantage. And sometimes maybe you just underestimate how competitive of certain markets in their countries. Okay. The last one, I think, the most practical one is in reality that companies may have brilliant strategies to go abroad, and they have done a full preparation of a market research in terms of maybe they hire consultancy to help them to solve the issue. But the implementation of such strategy fails mainly because the people they send to the target market sucks. Do you understand? So, for instance, I am the manager of the certain company. I have brilliant strategy to go, for instance, go to Brazil. And I send the country manager from Taiwan to Brazil to help me to implement the strategy, but I chose the wrong person. Okay, so the people, they really don't get the ideas I will try to implement in that market. Okay, so that's really happens a lot. Okay, and again, I have to say, all of these commercial risks can be found in domestic contexts. Only they are much more costly to firms when they happen in the international markets. Okay. So the conclusion drawn from your earlier discussion is that given these 4 types of internationalization risks can be avoided, they can be anticipated and managed by the firm. Okay. Some internationalization risks are extremely challenging depending on the various scenario, also depending on which location you go to. So if you are an IB manager, you need to understand, anticipate, and take proactive actions to reduce the internationalization risks on strategy planning and implementation within the firm. Okay, so that's the conclusion, I think, the main takeaway from the discussion you have. So let's see if you got a correct answer for the task 1, especially for the first one, cross-cultural risks. There will be number 2, 6, 9, and 14. Okay? And for the country risks, there will be 1, 4, 8, 10, and 12. Okay, and for the currency risks, will be 3, 5, 11, and 15. Okay, and the last 3 will be 7, 13, and 16. Okay. So that's the answer for task 1. Any question here? No? Good. So just talk about strategy. And what is strategy anyway? Okay. Broadly speaking, you learn from other relevant courses, you know strategy is a means of approach by which individual organizations, like companies, achieve a certain objective, right? And here I give you a number of definitions of strategy. The first one is from the Wordsmith Dictionary, okay, and the other 2 are from the dominant textbooks regarding strategic management. Okay. And obviously, you know, the strategy definition can be varying because you can, but again, you can still see some keywords keep showing up. So I highlighted in different colors. So essentially, you can tell from the definition here that strategy is always focusing on achieving certain goals, and it actually involves some plans to allocate resources, which are basically about knowing what you want to do and what you have and don't have, right? And to achieve these goals, individuals or organizations need to have a series of clear and consistent methods and actions. So we say strategy is also about knowing how to utilize what you have, as well as knowing how to complement what you are lacking to achieve what you want. Okay. So, but as you think that business environment become more unstable and unpredictable, okay, strategy has become less concerned with the detailed plans and more about the guidelines for success. So my version of definition on strategy can be simplified into the formula so you can see at the bottom of the slides. I define strategy as a set of guidelines to success, and it includes know what and know how. Okay? And because it's all about achieve what you want to achieve and how the company can utilize what they have and complement what they don't have in order to achieve the goal. Okay? But which one is more important? Know what or know how? Just give you a guess. Which one is important? Much more important. Yes?
Know what?
Know what? Why?
Because I think we have to define a goal initially,
Mm-hmm.
so we can go to pursue it.
Of course, you need to have a goal being set, right? And I try to figure out how to achieve the goal, right? So know what comes first, and then you start implementing know how. Okay, I think that makes sense. Any other ideas? Let's give you another practical case here, and then maybe you have second thoughts. Okay. So now I give you a range of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 smartphones. Okay. Now they are muted and turning off. Can you tell which brand are they? It's hard to tell, right? So these brands, they are pretty much have the same know what. That means that they are basically copying with each other in terms of product specification. You know, in the smartphone industry, actually copying with each other. And it's really hard to tell differences when they are all muted. Okay, so only if now turn on the phones, and you can clearly spot the brand names, right? So, you know, among these phones, in the global markets, Apple stands out majority of the global market only because it is good at persuading its customers why you need to buy our products, okay? And they know better how to market its product to the target customers. Okay? So in this regard, I would say that know-how makes a difference when everybody is competing with the same know-what in the industry. Of course, know-what is important. You need to have a goal. So my goal is to become the market leader. I think everybody, the goal is all the same. I mean, everybody's product specifications are the same. Okay. So how you can win your competitors, you know how to market your products to the customers. I think Apple got the perfect. Apple is the perfect example here. Okay. But here, just I mentioned the global market because in the Chinese market, Apple doesn't get the advantage like that. Okay. If you level our discussion on international business strategy, what is international business strategy anyway? Okay, simply put, they are essential strategy being carried out in 2 or more countries. Okay? So most international business only operate in a selected number of countries. The firm must take the best use of their scarce resources and decide where to engage the competition and where to implement partnerships if necessary. So typical international business strategy include the things you've seen on the slide. Maybe you need to allocate the scarce resources and configure the value-adding activities, that means the whole value chain, and participate in major markets, implement valuable partnerships abroad, engage in competitive move in order to respond to foreign rivals. Any of this can involve, can encourage companies or inspire companies to develop the international business strategies. And from the academic point of view, international business researchers Bartlett and Gosha, in their paper published in 1989 and 2000, suggest that international business managers should aim to develop at one and the same time global scale and efficiency in its existing activities, multinational flexibility to manage diverse country-specific risks and opportunities, and finally learn from international exposure, explore learning on a worldwide scale. Okay. So from that statement, you can see that 3 important concepts highlighted, including efficiency, flexibility, and learning, okay, which represents the overall objective of international business strategies developed by the firm. So give you some examples about the 3-dimensional objective. Let's start from efficiency. Efficiency refers to basically everything relating to cost reduction. Okay. Because you reduce the cost, you can increase your production efficiency. And to be successful, international business must build efficient global value chain or supply chain. So you know that there are many companies around the world, in order to lower down their costs, they actually outsource or do offshoring to some of the countries where it gives them cost advantage. Toyota is one of them. Okay? Toyota is a Japanese multinational automotive maker. Okay? They actually manufacture their cars in Thailand for cost reduction purpose. And its logistic operation for shipping cars around the world are also very cost effective. So there are many companies around the world. Early days, of course, they learned just-in-time production line from Toyota in Japan. But now Toyota moved their whole production line to Thailand, and it becomes the largest manufacturing plant in Thailand whatsoever. Okay. And the second is flexibility. Flexibility refers to the ability to manage diverse country-specific risks and opportunities. So what are the country-specific risks? We mentioned it about it in the 4C model. Cross-country, currency, country, and also commercial risks. Okay. Again, to be successful, international business manager must have global flexibility to accommodate the diversity and vitality of the international environments. Okay. And here, give an example. For instance, we're seeing the cross-cultural risks, right? Different countries, they have different ways of greetings to their business partners. Okay. And not to mention about the political instability between different countries around the world, China, US trade war, and Russian and Ukraine war in recent months. And finally, learning. Learning refers to develop the firm's product, technology, capabilities, and skills by internalizing a knowledge gained from the international market. We actually encourage you to learn from the international market in school. So under this concept, international businesses must create the ability to learn from operating in international environments and try to exploit this learning on a worldwide basis. So the first example I want to explore is the P&G. Do you recognize this brand? P&G, right? You know about this company, Procter & Gamble. It's an American multinational, okay, and providing branded consumer packaged products worldwide. It operates through 5 segments in consumer markets, including beauty, grooming, healthcare, fabric, home care, and baby care. Okay, so basically everything you can find in the supermarket is made by P&G brand. Okay, then who's the main competitor of this brand? Yes, Unilever, right? So you can find in the supermarket, whenever you saw a P&G shampoo, another shampoo from Unilever is next to the product. Okay. So another question I want to ask you is that anyone knows what was the first product launched by P&G? Just give you a thought. Yes.
Soap.
Soap. No. It was the water bottle. Okay. The bottle with the water. Okay. So, but you know, exporting water bottles to other countries are not really cost effective. Okay. And as a comparison to exporting other economical drinks such as wine. Okay. So, P&G set up foreign manufacturing plants to package their water, mainly sourced from the local contexts, to reduce the transportation costs. Okay. So, but it faced the challenges in Europe, in particular. Do you know why? When they want to package the water sourcing from a European country, it faced the greatest challenge ever. Have you been to Europe? Have you tested the tap water? It really tastes different when you drink the bottled water and also drink the water in Taiwan, right? So that was because of the differences in the hot and soft water in the States and Europe, respectively. So the hotness or softness of the water is determined by the mineral content of both calcium and magnesium. It's kind of the mineral in water. Okay. So as a result, P&G set up a research lab in collaboration with a Belgian university, developing a special water softening technology to deal with the Europe hot water issue. So this is how they learn from the local context in order to achieve their goal. And the second, I think everybody knows about this brand, right? 7-Eleven in Taiwan. So do you know where the 7-Eleven come from? Don't tell me it's from Taiwan. Where does it come from? Yes?
America.
Sorry? America? It was American multinational, but it moved its headquarters from America to Japan. So now it's a Japanese multinational. Okay. So 7-Eleven has been a blockbuster in Taiwan with more than 6,000 stores around the island, right? And a few years ago, I had a chance to interview with this former CEO, Mr. Shi. Okay, and now he's the CEO of PXMart. PXMart, you know about that, right? So he told us every year a group of top management from Japan headquarters will visit Taiwan to learn the operation of 7-Eleven in Taiwan. Okay. There are many localized marketing strategies in Taiwan have been proved very successful and being learned and transferred back to Japan, such as dining in area. We have dining area most of the 7-Eleven, and also I think the points collection in exchange of the free gifts, and also the hot food stands, so on and so forth. So they actually learn from Taiwan and they transfer such marketing strategy back to Japan and see if they can be successful too. Okay. And such direction of learning from the host country back to the home country is pretty unique. Okay, so in which we call it reverse innovation. And because most of the time headquarters presents the knowledge center, and knowledge is being transferred from headquarters to their subsidiaries. That's the normal way of knowledge transfer. But in the case of 7-Eleven, it's the other way around. It's from subsidiaries in Taiwan back to Japan. And the concept we call reverse innovation, we will talk more about that when we talk about the GE case in the States. Okay. So overall, this is the so-called international business strategy tripod. Okay, so international business that aspires to be successful, becoming a global competitive enterprise that should strive for 3 strategic objectives, including efficiency, flexibility, and learning. But you need to know very often, even successful firms excel at only 1 or 2 of these objectives. Because if you pay attention to this objective, you will find that it's rather difficult for a company to achieve all of them at once. Why? Apparently, there is a potential contradictory in between. For instance, when the firm pursues efficiency objective, that means it needs to focus very much on the cost reduction, right? But if it also wants to learn from the foreign markets through adaptation, that means it may need to develop a new product or services for the foreign customers, right? Then the cost reduction purpose will be jeopardized. So some of them are actually contradictory. So the main takeaway here is that bear in mind, it's not a winners-take-all situation that leads to successful internationalization. You can still win the battlefield by placing your bet on only 1 or maybe 2 of them is objective. Okay? So we ended our discussion on international business concept. Any question for now? No, then I think we can move on to the next topic. Okay? And next 6 part 3. Do you mind we take a break now and we continue to the discussion? Okay, thank you.
好像是要把那个